Hey, so in the process of doing my research or just searching for information in regards to this video, I came across this, which I would like to share with you. It says here, Singapore work passes and permits. Singapore has a highly developed free market economy, and the Global Competitiveness Report in 2015 named it as the world's second most prospering economy. It goes on, which I'm not going to bore you with that, but here's where I want you to focus on. This section here reads, in order to work in Singapore as a foreigner, you will need to obtain a Singapore work visa. A Singapore work visa is known as a pass. Everyone, regardless of whether or not they are subject to a Singapore visa, has to obtain a work pass to be allowed to work in Singapore. Why do I bring that up? The reason why I bring that up is because of what I'm going to share with you in this video. Hey guys, welcome to another video and thanks for clicking on this one. This video is probably going to be short, but I want to make sure that I deliver this information to those of you who may require maybe some clarification or just what I found. And it's nothing big, I'll be honest. It's just something that I believe that could help some of you out there. I've gotten a lot of messages from people requesting clarification about the program, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not an official from Singapore Airlines, so I'm not trying to represent the airline anyway. I'm just somebody like you who has sat down on the internet to find as much information as possible, and I'm hoping that this information can help you, maybe give you some clarification on what you can do. Now, like I said, this is about the Singapore Airlines Initio Cadet pilot program. Now, one of the main questions that a lot of you have asked is, can you apply as a foreigner or as an international student? You know, it depends on how you've posed the question to me. And I want to answer that I don't know. Because in the past, the way the requirements were written was that you needed to have the ability to live and work in the region. But for some reason, it's not there this time around. However, I want to point out something that is there. It says SIA is recruiting ab initio cadet pilots in Singapore. It doesn't say you have to be a Singaporean, right? So I don't want to dissuade you or discourage you from applying if you are not a Singaporean, all right? But one thing that I want to state is it says in Singapore, and in my opinion, you could interpret that to mean, well, people in Singapore already, which means you don't have to be sponsored in any way to come over to, we get the right to work and maybe the legality of immigration's, documents and all that. You don't have to deal with that, or they don't have to deal with that. But I also want to state that most of the time, majority of these airlines will state explicitly that you require the right to live and work in the region, or something of that sort will be stated in the requirements, which, as we can see in this requirement section, nothing is stated about the requirements to work. However, this is where I feel like, some guidance would definitely be appreciated by those of you who are trying to apply to this program. And a guidance from the airline would be appreciated, I'm pretty sure, to kind of just set it all clear to all people and make it straight that, hey, if you are going to apply, you need to maybe require the rights to live and work or citizenship status, whatever that may be, right? It would be nice to get that clarification. Now, this is what I found, right? As you can see, this is what the application page actually looks like. And if you go down here, the question says, one of the questions you'd have to answer states, do you require a work pass to work in Singapore? And then you have to choose some of the selections. So you can see no selection. No, I am Singaporean. No, I am a Singapore PR, so permanent resident. And then you have yes, I require a work pass. Now, depending on your selection here, because as you can see, it is required, means that selection that you make from these three options will likely determine the outcome, or depend on the other requirements that you have to meet, whether you have to submit your CV, your cover letter, and all the information that you have to put in, right? This will be one of the important things that will be looked at. So my understanding, all right, I'm just going to share my own thoughts here. My understanding is that most of these airlines would prefer to hire people from their regions. That is only fair. If you are from Singapore, it's only fair that they hire Singaporeans. If you are from India, it's only fair for an Indian airline to hire Indians. I think that is straightforward. Everybody will agree on that. However, when there's need to meet certain requirements, the airlines generally will open it up more to foreigners or international students. And the way that would often go is this. Let me just give you an hypothetical. I'm not saying this is what Singapore Airlines doing. And again, I'm not speaking on behalf of Singapore Airlines, just so you know. And I'm setting it straight. This is not me trying to, stir up any controversies or rumors. That's not the case. I'm just trying to state from what I know about the airline selection processes in different regions, this is how it works. Most of the time, they want to select their own people from their regions. Then, if they don't have enough qualified people to apply to that position, or they feel like based on the responses and applications they're getting, they are not meeting certain standards, or the standards of the people that are applying is not up to the standards that the airline wants, then they start to look further into other people that may qualify. So in this case, hey, maybe there are some people in different regions who may meet or exceed this requirements. Then they open it up to those people, right? So now, they are not saying that because you're not a Singaporean that you shouldn't apply. As you can see from the requirement itself, it's not stated that you have to, it's not a requirement, if that makes sense. So that means as a foreigner, like myself, if assuming I wanted to apply for this position, I can apply. That's the way I'm interpreting this, okay? However, my chances of being selected might be limited because, hey, they have these three things here. And they've asked this question for a reason. So they are not asking this question just because they want to fill up the pages. This is important. So that means, or in my interpretation, if for any reason, let's assume that they've, maybe they need, I don't know what the number is, and also they haven't stated how many people they're trying to take. So let's assume that they want to take 100 people, just for example, right? Assuming they've only gotten up to 90 or maybe 80, and they needed another 20 more people to meet the quota of number of people they want to hire, then maybe they might open it up to people that have the permanent residency, right? Let's assume that another 10 people who has permanent residency have met all the necessary requirements from the things I mentioned earlier, like the age, the have a good CV, good experience, good transferable skills, education, and the likes. Then they open up further to people that may require the work pass, which I'm believing is like a work permit. So that is my interpretation of this. So all of that to say, all of that I've said so far, to say that, hey, if you are somebody who is not a Singaporean, who is maybe not in Singapore, and you're thinking, should I apply to this program? Well, my answer to you will be apply, give it your best shot, because you just never know. As you can see, unless they come out tomorrow and state, oh, you know what, we've changed the requirements to this specifically. Because if they then do that, if they change the requirements to state, hey, you have to be a Singaporean, or you have to be a Singaporean with permanent residency, then it's going to be clear that these questions would then eliminate this part here. If you're going to require what pass, this won't be there anymore. It will only be these two options, if that is the case. So I hope that this makes sense. I really needed to make a video on this just so that, because I get this question and people ask the same question. So I just want to address this aspect of the application itself. And I hope that this is clear. I'm going to encourage you to apply if you think you meet the other requirements and you're not sure if this is open to you as a foreigner. I would encourage you to apply, and hopefully you hear something good. If you have found value in this one, please don't forget to drop a like on the video. I'll see you in the future one.